So, I'm here to talk about the 2026 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Tournaments. So here we are. Let's go talk about it. So, let's talk about the Final Four. So the first game was UConn Huskies on the South Carolina game, 62-48. You know, could kind of see a little bit before the game. Don Gino. Like, I thought Don and Gino, they liked each other, as coaches. That's what I thought, but you could see kind of like a half handshake before the game. And then there was frustration that Gino had with how the game was officiated. Or just what Don was doing, kind of. And it was I think just Don was just trying a respectful game thing, and then just Gino just went in, just got in it with her. Because Gino just bailed on his players afterwards. Just Gino was just after what happened, So that's what it seems like. And that's what it seemed like. I mean, that's kind of not the right thing to do in that situation. Especially all the seniors, just everyone on the team. You could say to all the seniors, wish them well, at least something. At least just something, If it's generically to the team as a whole. And maybe and maybe mention the seniors just as a whole, even very quick thing and then call it good, He didn't even do that, so it's I think he was just at the media one and just get out of the press conference and just bail, I think, as much as he could, after what happened. But, and then, or is he just frustrated because South Carolina took UConn out of it, and they just, it was close most of the game, but you could see South Carolina have the edge in the beginning of the game. You could. They had the edge in the beginning of the game. But, you can't just, in the last couple minutes of that game, it's really imploded. And that's a hurt, And then, number one, and there was also the refs were not calling a lot of stuff. So both teams were kind of being the refs allowed the game to be really, really physical. That's what, hurt also if you're really both teams just in general. That's kind of a build over in this one. It's not all on either, Gino is just you got it. And no, Don doesn't like losing either. Yes, they switch their ultra competitive to losing, but come on. Too, but you can see Don handling with South Carolina with grace and stuff like that. So you don't usually see Don at least try to start something with everyone or what happens. Last time I didn't know they played each other, that didn't happen. So the time that they so that was last year in the championship, so I don't remember that by either her or Gino. So and then we had number one UCLA, the one seeds UCLA in Texas. And UCLA defeat Texas 51-44. That was just kind of like a low-scoring game for both. I mean, neither. It was just more of a defense game. Like neither team shot super well, and yeah, I guess I'm just late a little bit. It does seem in that one just a little bit late in that one. UCLA did pull out a little bit. UCLA early on in that one did have a little bit of a lead too. Not a ton of a lead, maybe like a 7-8 point lead. But they did have a little bit of a lead consistently. A little bit, not a ton of a lead. But I'll show you here. There's the team set.
Tax season is here, and Tax Act got you again.
In the season start the first, it was 14-6, but then you can see Texas did it was the 3 in the 17-20 favorite Texas, but then in the third was a little separation, tried to, and Texas did come back and ended up making a 3-point game, but then in the beginning of the fourth, near the beginning of the fourth, it's a 56 in the fourth, it ended up being 40-30, then 42-30, but then then it was just. But it was just in the fourth where they couldn't really get any. I mean, they did a little bit late in the fourth. They tried to get something, but just some teeth was late. They it. But the problem was they let UCLA get like fringe double-digit leads, like 10 points. And that's what really hurt you Texas. So that really hurt Texas. So, and that's what really hurt Texas. These were in some long droughts. You can see the 5 minutes in that game. 5 minutes. You really can't do that if you're, in Texas, you couldn't afford the droughts, So it's going to be now the first team to, and no one shot super well in both games. Like, UCLA did not shoot a ton, but they shot better, South Carolina, though. In the South Carolina game, neither team shot super well, ton well. 1 out of 56. But UConn was just 6 of 21 from 3. Neither team had like the best shooting games, but that team had and UCLA to win. And now you'll see South Carolina taking on number one seed South Carolina taking on number one seed UCLA. And that's at 3:30 Eastern. 12:30 Pacific. In Phoenix, Arizona. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's on ABC it's the championship game. If you're watching on TV, it's going to be on ABC for the traditional broadcast with Ryan Nicole and Rebecca Lobo as play-by-play and analyst. Ryan Nicole is the play-by-play. Rebecca Lobo is going to be the analyst. And then we have Holly Roll on the sideline. but then on ESPN they're gonna have the games. They're going to have on ESPN 2 they had the courtside presentation. And on ESPN they're going to have the play, but on ESPN no, and for the ESPN they're going to have the broadcast, the main ESPN for the Final Four was the main broadcast. ESPN 2 is the courtside presentation now for the championship, because that's on ABC, because it's Saturday and Sunday, and that's you know they used to not have it. They used to have it Sunday night, the game, but they ended up putting on either in the NCAA's next broadcast contract. Either they required it to be on ESPN, or ESPN just decided to move it there. Because I do remember when they had NBA on in the NBA Friday nights. And I remember when they had that on ESPN, and then ESPN 2 had the main feed of the Final Four. And there was no alternate cast on ESPN News, ESPN U, even if like SC Network, AC Network, if one of those teams were involved. Or I do remember that. I do remember a lot of the time also they had the games on ESPN 2. I do remember that even. That wasn't that long ago. It was like 70 years ago, too. Like look at that time frame. And they had games in ESPN 2 as regionalized games. So you only got to see like the featured game. Every game was on ESPN 3 for you to watch. For like free. But which was ESPN 3, which is like what ESPN Plus was. Like ESPN Plus, like their streaming service. It was basically they put everything on free before ESPN Plus. Then they also had ESPN. And what they did is they started out as ESPN Plus. They put some games on ESPN 3 and some on ESPN Plus. I remember that. They didn't go totally away from it. They put some featured games on ESPN. And then they also had days where most of the stuff was ESPN Plus, and they had one day where everything was on ESPN 3. Just like, hey, this is what it's like. Get ESPN Plus. This is, you access to all this stuff. It's kind of like a free trial. They want to tease you into doing that. Not everything, just on. They had a few things on ESPN 3, but not many. So, yeah. No, with the ESPN Unlimited thing, they don't have like the ESPN feed, like South Carolina, the national championship on ESPN Plus anymore. They don't have. They don't have the national championship on ESPN Plus. It's no more like they used to. But it is what it is. I mean, I still wish they did. Because there are those people that just have ESPN Plus. I think also a lot of the people that just have ESPN Plus still do have like ESPN 2, ESPNU, that type of thing. And there's probably a deal with like a lot of these cable providers, cable and satellite providers. I know, like satellite TV, which is like DirecTV, Dish Network. I know a lot of them have they have ESPN Unlimited probably bundled in. I know a lot like DirecTV. I know they have ESPN Plus channels and like some sub channels, and they actually feature like ESPN Plus games from like sports like college football, men's and women's college basketball, maybe some featured like games from college softball, especially maybe in regionals. That games are on ESPN Plus. They might have featured like regional games on like ESPN Plus channels for ESPN Plus and on the ESPN Plus channels on TV. They may have featured like they have featured college football, extra and women's basketball. So that maybe some top volleyball matches. They do. They may have some other ones that are not like college soccer, like not college soccer, but like professional soccer. So yeah, so we have the national championship game Sunday at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 p.m. local time in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's being played, and it's at 9 time Central Time. But yeah, number one South Carolina 6 and number one UCLA, 3:30 Eastern, and then it's 12:30 Pacific. I actually kind of like that. It's perfect time. Like it's perfect for all coasts. Like if you're on the West Coast, you can just watch it, and it's like a little bit afternoon, and then in the West Coast, and then the East Coast, it's 3:30. It's before like the studio shows, or before like not studio shows, but before I don't want to say it. It's before the world news. There you go. The world news shows. They run like the national news shows. The other channel from Rich has besides Fox. Fox doesn't, but CBS, ABC, NBC do. So it's before that, and like the local news and the world news shows. So on Sundays they have they have a sports room. They have your shows on like at 7 Eastern or 7 Pacific time. And like they do. They have like the nightly shows on like basically like your nightly shows, like your, I don't know what you call it, like your regular TV shows. I guess primetime TV shows. So it's kind of like a win-win for everyone. I kind of like it. I don't mind like like I think the men's Final Four is. I mean, the men's Final Four is on cable. So like every other year, they split it. Like CBS 1 year, it's the men's Final Four, and then it's TNT Sports. I also think the NCAA is going to be like with the Paramount merge, if that goes through, and the TNT Warner Bros. Discovery merger. I would think the NCAA would be like go at like I guess CBS wants to move it to, and some stuff too. I mean, like sometimes CBS shows like those like filler shows like CLGP and stuff like that, and from like some filler kind of like things. I would not be surprised if some of those games move to like the other stuff like especially a lot of the stuff that's on CBS Sports Network. I would not be surprised if a lot of the CBS Sports Network content moves to TNT Sports. I would not be surprised, Anyways, on this topic, so number one South Korea, number one UCLA, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific local time. Team played in matchup. In more matchups, sir. Phoenix, Arizona.